Faubus's tactic was also used in Virginia, where the governor closed down school after school.
There will be no enforced integration in Virginia. I have the highest respect for the President of the United States. The troops are sent into Virginia. They will patrol empty schoolhouses.
Governor Allman closed schools in Charlottesville and Norfolk and other towns, and he called for unyielding rejection of integration. The federal courts were also unyielding, ruling again and again that this resistance was unconstitutional. But while the court cases were fought, the schools stayed closed, and the children, especially the black children, paid the price. So the crisis in school desegregation continued. In the fall of 1960 in New Orleans, 4 little black girls were sent to first grade in white schools. It caused a citywide riot. This was 6 years after the Supreme Court's ruling, and segregation was still a fact of life across the South. But in those 6 years, desegregation had become a fact of political life. Schools were an issue that touched all Americans, black and white, and national leaders were beginning to recognize that.
Can we honestly say that it doesn't affect our security and the fight for peace when Negroes and others are denied their full constitutional rights? When we in this country...
This kind of rhetoric raised black hopes that the new president would lead the nation in a new commitment to civil rights. In 1961, a black man named James Meredith would test that commitment when he filed suit for admission to the University of Mississippi. His lawyers were Jack Greenberg and Constance Baker Motley of the NAACP.
When the Meredith case was filed, it coincided with the Freedom Riders' arrival in Mississippi, which, of course, was not a good context in which to bring that suit. But those were historical developments which we could not control because it was a genuine revolution on the part of black people.
James Meredith called it a new spirit among blacks, as sit-ins and freedom rides spread from other southern states into Mississippi. That spirit was part of Meredith's own readiness to face the struggles he knew were ahead.
What made you decide on Ole Miss?
Well, I thought that I should get an education in my own state. And of course, Ole Miss, to my knowledge, is the best university in the state. And also, it's the only school that offers the courses that I'm particularly interested in.
When you say you were interested in going to the University of Mississippi even as a boy, were you aware at that time that Negroes did not go to the University of Mississippi?
Well, I've been aware for a long time of the so-called place for the Negro. Yes, I've been aware.
Therefore, you've wanted to overcome this barrier since you were a boy.
That's right.
I think that the facade that he would present to the public was one that was somewhat cold, somewhat cocky, but it was necessary to do that in order to protect himself, because after all, he was a human being with feelings, with fear.
Friends, I'm a Mississippi segregationist, and I am proud of it.
Mississippi, from its governor on down, was the most militant of the segregationist states. It was the home of the Citizens Council, a group formed specifically to defeat integration. In 1955, the Citizens Council had helped crush the first attempts at desegregation in the state by using economic threats and violence.
We must eliminate the cowards from our front lines. You did not elect me governor of Mississippi to bargain your heritage away in a smoke-filled hotel room.
The governor took a very active role in talking about the threats that the state would make on its blacks who would try to enter the school. It was an effort to instill fear in the hearts of blacks, and it was also an effort, and a very successful one, to arouse fear and a kind of frenzy in the white community to fight back.
Myrlie Evers' husband, Medgar Evers, was head of the state NAACP. Evers himself had once tried to integrate Ole Miss, and now he counseled James Meredith. It was a long, hard legal battle. Finally, after 9 months, the district court ruled there was no policy of segregation at Ole Miss.
It was so unreal for the Mississippi to argue and for the judge to hold that there was no policy of segregation at the University of Mississippi. Everyone in the state of Mississippi, and I'm sure almost everyone in the entire country, knew that there was segregation in the state of Mississippi. And for the university to assert that there was no segregation, and for the court to find that there was no segregation, was just like a land of fantasia.
The Court of Appeals reversed the decision, ruling Ole Miss must accept James Meredith. The question then, as in Little Rock, was who would enforce the order, a question the court asked directly to the president's representative.
It was always clear as crystal, and I personally made a commitment, knowing the president would back it up, to the Fifth Circuit sitting en banc, all 9 of them, that whatever force was necessary to make their order effective would be applied.
I have made my position in this matter crystal clear. I have said in every county in Mississippi that no school in our state will be integrated when I am your governor. I now call on every public official and every private citizen of our great state to join with me in refusing in every legal and every constitutional way, and every manner available, my friends, to submit to illegal usurpation of power by the Kennedy administration.
The conflict was crystal clear, but the politics were not. The president and his advisors were determined Meredith would go to Ole Miss. But Kennedy was also determined to avoid direct involvement, which could cost him key Southern Democratic support. The president wanted a political solution. And caught in the politics was Ole Miss. The Board of Trustees supported Barnett. Most of them did not want to integrate, but they didn't want to see the university shut down because of James Meredith.
Well, none of the students, I think I speak for all of them, want the school closed. And I think if it is closed, it'll be too much pressure on Mr. Barnett that he will have to open it within a day or two anyway.
Do you think if the school had to be closed, it would affect the Rebels, the football team?
Yes, that's one bad thing about it. Now, all the students are really looking forward to all the football games, and then if the school is closed, we want the ball games played anyway.
On September 20th, the conflict came to a head when Governor Ross Barnett flew up to the Oxford campus of Ole Miss.
so hard to be positive in the city that I live, where it's all take and no give. Where kids smoke Newports, kill and do bids, have tattoo eyelids. Highest inflation, a lost generation. Even if you don't participate, you're guilty by association. Teens with guns, a deadly combination. Lack of communication ends up in confrontation. Then loved ones dies, endless cries that last a lifetime. Through the early demise, bloodshot eyes, looking for those guys that did it. Revenge is futile. The truth is hard. I admitted my frustrations, retaliation. Got us going to more funerals than graduations. Now on probation, bad reputation. Beware of your surroundings. Guilty by association. Guilty. Disaster. Guilty by association. Disaster. Guilty. Guilty by association. Guilty. As long as a crime is committed, whether you innocent or guilty, you did it. You forfeited your rights and was indicted without hesitation. Guilty by association. Now tell me if this is wrong or not. I'm in watch, the block's hot cause some fools got shot. Now SWAT's all up in our face with Glocks cocked. Just hoping for an excuse to pop. Guilty. Disaster. Guilty by association. Disaster. Guilty. Guilty by association. Guilty.